So if you need a copy of what we're going to talk about here today, that'll be sent to you automatically after the webinar. Additionally, just a couple of things with the webinar GoToMeeting control panel is that you can type your questions in the questions drop-down dialog box. The second thing is if you're having any problems with today's audio or seeing any of the screens or anything like that, just put that information in your chat box, and one of the RE Technology staff members is available to help you out. So I just want to begin our webinar here today by creating a little bit of backdrop around some of the issues that are facing real estate brokers today. This year, Wave Group worked with 400 brokers to discuss what types of issues they were having with technology and the role that technology played in real estate today. And what we were really trying to get at is what technology solutions people are adopting, as well as their satisfaction with each of them. And we began asking these questions to real estate brokers by trying to fundamentally begin to appreciate what types of departments that a company has in order to understand how these technology solutions are, quote unquote, owned or managed by those departments. So generally speaking, in brokerages today, you have a training department, an IT department, a marketing department, a support department, and a development department. And depending on the size of broker, you may have all or none of them. Typically, smaller firms tend to have very few of them. Larger firms tend to have more. It seems to make sense, but I think it's really important as it relates to who owns the technology solution that's being delivered to both the consumer and the realtor today. And one of those fundamental things is training, and it was pretty interesting to learn through that who the trainer is in a company. A lot of times it's the broker owner, sometimes it's the office manager, and rarely do you have a trainer who has specific training instruction until you get to a firm with more than 2,500 agents, or a firm that is particularly focused on training as a component of revenue. So a lot of the large firms today have schools, real estate schools, and that's not only component to their recruiting strategy, but also component to their revenue strategy. In terms of IT, it's IT that supports technology solutions in a real estate firm is really all over the board. We've noticed that there's been a tremendous level of adoption of the Tech Help Desk, which is a solution that's offered to the industry by the Florida Association of Realtors. And literally, they will log onto your computer and fix problems that you have. So in terms of IT, in most brokerages today, people are really focused in around the notion of just helping real estate agents get online, configure their email, configure their calendar, just really making sure that their computer works and that the information is getting to their phone or other mobile devices that they have. Marketing is another very strange topic depending on the size of firm. In real estate today, we see that a lot of times someone who might be responsible for answering the phone in a real estate brokerage is also responsible for marketing. In marketing may be the consideration of taking a listing and putting it into maybe a franchise back office solution so that it appears on the franchise site, or entering it into accounting, or putting an open house ad in the newspaper, all the way up to designing individual listing websites or custom flyers and things like that. But really, a lot of even the large firms tend to be pretty light on marketing. The next thing is support, and there again, having a dedicated support staff member in a firm is pretty unusual. Typically, that relationship falls on the broker owner or the office manager, or more often than not, just another real estate agent that's in the office who happens to know how to use a lot of these things. And the last section is development, and the interest in understanding there was how many real estate brokerages are actually writing code, and what we found is very few of them are. So with that, I'd just like to begin by introducing Kurt Whitesell. He's a broker owner with WKRP. Kurt, are you there? You may need to unmute your phone. Kelly, could you unmute Kurt? In the control panel? So Kurt, if you could unmute yourself in the control panel. Mark, are you available? Can you speak?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So Kurt, I don't understand why we can't hear Kurt, but can you just talk for a minute about what the kind of experience you're having with some of your clients as they're rolling out your technology solution in their brokerage today? I mean, what do you normally see as it relates to training, IT, marketing, support, or development within a firm? How do you work with those different departments?
Yeah, so I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with regards to a couple points. One is, yes, there is a real kind of hodgepodge of ways that brokerages are handling those different functional areas. It definitely seems to fall on just the traditional agents or the office managers or the TCs to do technical support, to do marketing, to do training, and really every brokerage, every franchise, every office is different. So that actually can present a challenge from a technology standpoint on our end to know exactly, one, who to go to with regards to setting up training for new products like ourselves, and then two, just the way to manage that training. For example, we had a pretty decent-sized brokerage, about 200 people in Southern California, about a month ago, and we offered to do both in-person training for the entire brokerage as well as webinars and online training. And for some reason, they wanted to just really, really drive the entire process themselves, and they hired an outside IT person to do that, so an IT consultant. And while that's nice and that's great, obviously we have the paper expertise, for example, in our product, and I think some of the training would have come better from us, but they were pretty insistent on using some of their internal processes or outside processes. So that can present challenges when you're, again, trying to ramp up an entire office or brokerage on a new product, and every single one of them has a different process, and you're kind of trying to recommend a best-in-practice or best-in-class way of doing things, and there isn't always the openness to doing that. So that's definitely a challenge, in trying to roll out a product like this. At the same time, I think it's also incumbent on the technology to be easy enough to use that it is easily adaptable for whatever the process is at that particular brokerage. So one of the things that we do heavily focus on is, again, the first use experience is what we call it. When you first, for example, log into Resio or join Resio, that it is pretty self-sufficient, or you can basically kind of train yourself with regards to all of our support videos and support library and 24/7 chat support. So again, yes, I agree that there are a lot of differences in how brokerages do that. At the same time, I do think it's incumbent upon the technology and the products themselves to be flexible and adaptable for whatever the processes are at those different offices.
And tell me, so does it matter who buys the service from you in terms of how it is? I mean, the example that you gave, does it matter if the firm buys it versus the agent buys it in terms of how that's being managed? I mean, I know sometimes that the agent, a firm will have an agreement with a company that's sort of like a hunting license. Like, you're our vendor, we want our agents to use your product, but the agent will pay you directly. Does that modify or change the rollout process much at all? Or do you find any differences that make maybe does who buys the software make a difference?
Well, so obviously with our product, with the transaction management product, it's free. So we do have our product is a little bit of a different anomaly. But that being said, there is still a target demographic in terms of how we do get brokerages to use our product. So I can talk about that. So it's not completely different just because it's free. So we do find that there is, and it makes sense, right? We do find that there is definitely wider adoption within the brokerage when the broker not only creates the brokerage within our product and invites other agents into it, but also basically kind of requires them to use it, for example, in order to get paid. Like we have, with our transaction management product, there's a lot of compliance, There's a lot of workflow and process management, document management. So we do have a lot of brokerages that require their agents to use it in order to get paid. Clearly, that adoption is always going to be higher than if the broker just says, well, I would like for you to use this, but it's not required. That being said, again, I come back to the product experience, and that I think if you have a great product experience, users are going to want to use it. So we actually developed our product from the bottoms-up approach. We first focused on the agent version of the product so that agents would adopt the product, like using it, want to use it, so that when their broker said, hey, we need you to use this product, there wasn't pushback. There was, okay, yeah, I know you want me to use it, and I'm glad to use it because it works well and I like it. So we definitely took a bottoms-up approach from that. Obviously, eventually, we built out the broker products, the compliance features, and everything that the broker cared about in order to wanting to use it. But just to kind of talk about our demographics, so we have, in terms of like sign-ups and the number of people that start using our system, it's pretty evenly split, about a third brokers, a third agents, and a third transaction coordinators. So we have a pretty healthy split across all three demographic or functional areas in terms of who uses our product or who is the dictator in deciding who uses it.
Gotcha. Kirk, can we hear you yet? I know they're trying to work out an audio problem with Kirk.
Okay. Sorry about that.
All right. So anyway, while we work that out, I would like to talk about the transaction coordinator just for a second.
Sure.
Mark, I mean, it would appear that somebody who's a transaction coordinator is really going to be the person who's going to leverage your software in the best possible way. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah. Well, what we find is they tend to be the quote-unquote power user, where they will spend the most time learning every single feature in the system. Because from their standpoint, transaction coordinators look at a product like ours as really being a value add that they bring as part of their services to their clients, which in this case are the brokers and agents. So they feel if they're bringing great software to the brokerage, to their clients, they feel that that's a differentiator in helping them stand out versus other TCs that are out there. So they tend to become very fluent in the system, learning every single possible feature there is out there. They're definitely probably the most interactive with us. For example, with our chat, with our email support, and they also tend to be the ones who will train the agents on the product that they bring into it. And they'll even provide support to the agents themselves. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting dynamic. We definitely love TCs using our product. We definitely think that they're probably one of the most engaged groups who are using it. And I think it just makes sense, because of the fact that they look at it as a real value add to the service that they're bringing for their clients.
And when you're working with TCs, do you usually see that as where the TC is an employee of the real estate brokerage, or do you usually see them as independent contractors like agents, but they sort of sell their services to the agent and are paid off the transaction? Is there a mix or a blend?
It's pretty evenly split. We have about half of our transaction coordinators are in-house at the brokerage full-time for that brokerage, and another half are independent TCs who service multiple brokerages. I think the second group, the TCs that are independent contractors who service multiple brokerages, they're that bucket that really feel that this is the value add that they're bringing, because obviously those brokerages have choices in terms of which TCs they go with. So to stand out compared to other TCs, they feel that a product like this is a differentiator. It's not that the in-house TCs don't look at it that way, but because they're full-time at the brokerage, they're probably going to be doing the transaction coordinating work regardless of the system that's used, whereas the independent TC, when they sell their services to brokers and agents, this is definitely something we've had TCs tell us that, we sell the fact that we use Reseo to our potential clients, and obviously as an ongoing benefit to our existing ones.
Yeah, that's a curious thing. Like I've always been sort of a student of the listing presentation, and one of the things that I've often seen, I look for what's not there as well as what's there. And one of the things that I often see not included in marketing information or in listing presentations or even on a firm's website is information about transaction management and what a valuable service that is to the consumer. Is that something that you see changing in the industry today?
Yeah, and the biggest way I see it changing is just in the feedback that we get from our brokers and agents. So it's really interesting to note that when brokers and agents, like for example, again, we provide 24/7 chat support, so brokers and agents will chat with us a lot. And the number one thing that they're always asking for, one is integration into multiple systems, but two is for our product to tie into CRM and lead generation. So and that kind of goes hand in hand, right? They want everything to talk to each other. They want everything in one place. They're tired of having multiple different systems, one for CRM, one for transaction management, one for lead gen. And if you can provide everything to them in one place and it seamlessly and easily talks to each other, then that's kind of the holy grail. That's what brokers and agents really want. So yes, they're asking us all the time for that. In fact, I actually just had a couple of chats this morning that I was on before I got on the webinar where someone's like, will you be integrating CRM and have that tied to your lead gen anytime soon? And so it's phenomenal how often that question comes up and how much people want that. They really, really want it all to tie together. Because, and I think that one last point on that, I think the biggest reason is because transaction management is the one system that you're in on a daily basis, because you're always managing documents, you're always managing tasks, you're always managing compliance and messages. You may not always be in your CRM system or your lead gen system, but you're always in your transaction management system. And so that's the core of where you're in every day, all the time. So naturally, you want those other products to be part of it.
So is that sort of a fact, Mark? I mean, what you just said, like your customers who have access to your software, they're literally 100% online every day in your system? Or you're saying, I know it's a really important thing, but like what is the frequency of login of a user that has an active transaction on the platform? Have you guys ever looked at that?
Yeah, we haven't looked at like a daily time spent on the platform, but it's definitely the average is more than one login per day. But the other slight problem with that is sometimes people just stay logged in, and we do not log people out automatically. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing. So yeah, we probably do want to measure that at some point. But definitely people are logging in on average at least once per day if they have an active transaction. You're right. If they don't have an active transaction, then they won't be. But if they do, then they are. And again, it just makes sense because they are doing everything with regards to their documents and their tasks and their processes and messaging. And so, they have to be in it to do all those things.
Gotcha. Kurt, are you with us?
I'm here.
Yay.
Yeah, it took a village, huh?
So Kurt, just kind of introduce yourself. Where are you from, and what size firm do you have, and can you start with that?
So I'm a broker owner. I'm in the Indianapolis area. We are a full-service real estate company, but I keep 10 or fewer residential agents on staff. Our whole model was based on mobile, high-tech agents. And so, as many of you know, the real estate world doesn't condone that they don't welcome that. So this kind of stuff is cool. This product is exactly what kind of the newer agent is looking for.
Do you have an office?
An actual bricks and mortar? No.
Okay. And so when
never will.
You're getting, pardon?
And never will.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people, well, one of the founders of Edina Realty, who's now the chairman of Home Services of America, which I think is the second largest group of real estate brokerages in America today, during the downturn in real estate, when he referred to his offices, and this is a seasonally adjusted metaphor, he said, we built the churches for Easter Sunday, meaning that their offices were so big and they became so bloated that when the meltdown happened, they really had to completely adjust their ways, means of operation, their methodologies, the number of agents that they could operate out of a facility and all of those things. And so, you know, it's really inspiring to see a firm like yours who just starts from the ground up as being a brokerage without an office. But so when it comes to things like rolling out technology products or training and marketing and support and development, how do you manage that within your firm?
So I early on partnered with a web development company. And so things like code and website development, I rely on someone for that. But a new product like this, a software, I would do the training on that. I don't push a lot of stuff onto our agents, but for instance, Reseo, it's a required product now, and mainly from the standpoint that I like the liability side of it, that it cleans up the broker's liability with all the requested information, but it also, it's good. There's a lot of different places to find stuff, and on here, it's one stop, but it also looks good. And I think that's one thing that we've been hesitant to share other products is because it just isn't real easy for the consumer to look at or use.
What other products do you require your agents to use?
Well, we use signing product, DocuSign. They have to use. They have to blog through our specific blog, but real estate-wise, nothing other than the board requires. Reseo will be the only thing I actually require from a real estate side.
And do you charge them a desk fee and then you pay the vendor, or do you let the agent pay themselves, or how do you guys work that?
So we're structured that the agents all pay themselves for our local board fees and real estate fees, and our company is straight percentage commission off sales. There's no desk fees. And so we just absorb all costs, additional costs as a brokerage.
So for teams, I mean, there's some teams that are the size of your brokerage, and there are lots and lots and lots of smaller firms in America today. I mean, making something a required product within a brokerage is a pretty significant step, which is probably why you only have a few of those things, and it's good probably that you focus on the transaction management solution for that. But the one question that I did have is, like, at what point do you need to automate something? At what point does the automation of transaction management really make sense for a firm? I mean, is there a transaction volume number?
I think immediately, and I think one of the reasons getting having a brokerage require service is because there was no credibility behind it. I've worked for large brokers, and a broker can throw a product at you that they think works, but my experience, most broker owners for the large companies or managing brokers don't have the current knowledge to bring a product to you, or haven't had a current knowledge that they're using daily that they will buy into. And when they say it's required, it's because it has worked for their large volume business. So I think one of the issues is that. I mean, they just, and so the people that are actually out selling, that are doing a lot of transactions, they may need this stuff, they just don't know about it. And so the broker owners, when they bring you something, they have to have credibility, and it has to be proven for someone with success. Does that make sense?
So it does. So roughly how many transactions does the average agent in your firm do?
Roughly 2 a month.
2 a month? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Indianapolis is a very interesting market for MLS. You guys are a broker-owned MLS, is that right? Or broker-governed?
Yes.
And does the MLS offer any kind of transaction management solution at all in your market?
No, we are a CoreLogic user,
Yep.
and they have and then we use, what's their sign, Zip Forms. And I know that Zip Forms has a product, but we do not subscribe to it as a board.
Well, ZipForms has a product, but I don't think that they necessarily have it in every area. The ZipForms itself is not a transaction management solution. It's a document management solution. Mark, can you explain the difference between transaction management and document management? I think that's an important differentiator for people to appreciate.
Sure. So, well, a couple things. One is Document management is just a subset or component of transaction management. So we do document management as well, but that's just one part of what we do. Now, what we don't do is actually provide the forms. So a product like Zip Forms, which has struck agreements with the MLSs to license their forms, or with the State Association of Realtors to license their forms, they actually have the forms within their system to pre-populate and fill them out, and then and then from there, you're kind of left to do whatever. You're left to either then print them out and sign them through pen and paper, or you're left to e-sign them through a product like DocuSign. What's actually kind of cool and slick about Reseo, you can actually email documents directly to transactions in Reseo. Which means when you fill out a document in Zip Forms, you can actually email that document. Once you fill it out in Zip Forms, you can email it directly from there into Reseo and then manage it from that point on. And we've integrated DocuSign so you can e-sign and all that good stuff. So that, just going back to what I originally said, the document management or filling out of documents or filling out of the forms for your area is just one little tiny component of everything else that goes into transaction management, because transaction management encompasses a lot more. It encompasses also compliance management, especially on the broker side. It encompasses workflow, task management. It essentially brings all parties together into a centralized deal room to collaborate on every aspect of a transaction. And that, of course, includes document sharing. That includes the signing of tasks. That includes activity logs to see what everybody has done within the transaction, emails, messaging, notes, communication, and then, of course, as we're going to talk about, the marketing and CRM aspect of it as well. So it really is a productivity tool that allows you to manage every single aspect of a deal, not just filling out forms.
So not to go off on too much of a tangent, but last year I was at a conference when a transaction management company and the CEO of Zip Forms were having an argument about putting forms in their software solution. What was that all about?
Yeah, so it definitely was an interesting debate. Zip Forms, and that stemmed from out here in California. So the California Association of Realtors has made it clear that they will only allow Zip Forms to license their documents. And essentially, the California Association of Realtors has struck an exclusive agreement with Zip Forms to only allow their forms to be in their system to be filled out. And, I know the CEO of Zip Forms is also the lead board of directors for CAR. So, the kind of whole debate was, wait a minute, there's this conflict of interest, with regards to CAR and Zip Forms, and you're not letting anybody else license the forms. And what's really kind of the sticking point, or what most brokers and agents feel is problematic with that, is that brokers and agents are paying to be members of CAR, right? And if you're a paying member of CAR to license those forms that they have, you should be able to choose which system you want to fill out those documents in and sign them in. And so really that's kind of where the frustration boiled over with regards to that debate is, again, brokers and agents are paying CAR to license the forms. Therefore, they should be able to fill them out how they want and use the system of choice that they want, and CAR won't let them do that. And, I mean, there's other, issues like Zip Forms is kind of a little bit of a clunky product. It's not that user-friendly. So people are wanting choice, and they're wanting to switch and use other things like a resale, but they're not letting them do that. I think the issue there related to that was that it would be possible for somebody who's not a member of CAR, who's not a realtor, who's not paying for the forms to gain access to them, if you allow them to be transported into another piece of software and distributed that way. But I think that there are some really good takeaways for brokers on the call to understand about this, which is a product like yours that allows you to effectively push a e-paper into your solution doesn't impact the use of the forms or the terms of the use of the forms, because you're not modifying the document in your system other than applying a signature. So right, that's the important thing. So in terms of you just don't put in active forms into your document repository and then modify them in there, right?
Is that the takeaway that firms need to be aware of?
Yeah, and it's a little bit, just to be honest, it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I mean, if for example, CAR was willing to work with a firm like ours to put the security measures in place so they couldn't be modified, so that no one without licensing would be able to access it, we easily could do it. So the technology is there in place to monitor it as needed and to make sure that all the correct processes are followed. So yeah, I mean, in an ideal situation, they would be willing to work with us because we could easily, from a technology standpoint, do that.
Yeah, so I mean, this hits at that issue of integration. Kurt, what in your marketplace, it's like once you get trained on how to deal with the forms integration, emailing the form in, does it become a non-issue in your brokerage?
Yeah, that would be, as long as once the training's going, once it's part of the system, yeah, it would be a non-issue. I think the politics behind getting the documents available is the hardest part.
Uh-huh. And is that something that you've addressed with your MLS?
Yeah, so one of our local MLS, which is MyBor, it is headed up by a volunteer committee that reviews new technology, and one of the things in that group is documents and stuff like this, the software is used. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't change much over time, if at all. So it's almost a review group. But I think this type of thing could change the view of letting new stuff in. I don't think people saw the value in a lot of older stuff, but we don't have transaction management in our market that is used on a regular basis. I've never been invited by someone else to use their transaction management. So I think this could be a game changer locally.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is. If you're doing, 200, 250 transaction sides a year, and you're the only one that's using transaction management, I mean, it's stunning, actually.
And other brokers may have, some of these companies may have something they have there, but I worked for the largest in the nation brand, and they didn't have it. And sounds like in Calvin Bryan's market, I know he's not on here to defend this comment, but I think he says some people use it in his market. I think they're ahead of the game. It's great to have that.
Yeah, by the way, for everyone on the call today, the mysterious Brian Lyons, he lives in San Diego, and they have, I think, a 300-agent firm down there, and he's going to be jumping on the call when he can, but he got stuck in traffic this morning. He tried to call in from his cell phone and got pulled over and was getting a ticket for driving and talking. So
is it really? Did that really happen?
It really happened.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. I feel so terrible.
Are we splitting the ticket 4 ways?
Yeah, well, certainly by the time, maybe he'll, after he's completed that transaction, pun intended, he'll be able to join the call and provide some insights about how they're dealing with that situation, because it is rather confusing for firms today. I mean, there's always been this really complex issue about, I think, what we call swimming lanes in technology, and we talked about this a little bit before, but who is it that's procuring the technology solution? And when Wave Group works with a lot of firms, or even when RE Technology works with technology companies, we say, well, who do you sell your product to? And they say, well, we sell it to agents, we sell it to offices, we sell it to brokerages, we sell it to associations, we sell it to MLSs, we sell it to franchises, we sell it to everybody. It's just packaged up a little differently. So it's one of those really curious things when you have somebody in California who by virtue of being a realtor with the state gets a free document management solution, a free e-signature solution, and a free document management solution with forms, all componentized, but yet he's gone off the reservation to choose a different solution because of its usability. So it's really fascinating, and I think, Kurt, it would be interesting to get your opinion on this. whose responsibility? You took on that responsibility. You made that choice of saying you will use Reseo if you work for this firm. But politically speaking, do you think that every firm should be offering its own sort of solution? I mean, I see chaos where you use one product and the firm next door uses another.
In
and,
reality,
now you have 15 solutions in a market.
Yeah, it can't happen. You can't have shareable transaction management if everybody uses their own brand. It's like the CRMs. There's so many out there. But the reality is that today's realtor, we really don't buy and sell. We are here to make a transaction run smoothly. So why would we not want something like this? And why would from my market, I feel it's a board's responsibility. Now I don't mind paying for it, but I think it would be a board's responsibility to provide something like this with the number of the depth of features in this type of product and the usability. It's to me it's a no-brainer. I don't mind the cost, the shared cost, but I think it should be market-wide type of thing.
Yeah, I mean it's intriguing. I mean, and again, I'm sorry Brian's not here because he has a situation where it's included in the dues.
Yeah.
But yet he has opted to go and choose a different solution. So he effectively is doing the exact opposite of what you think we should do as an industry. And in your situation, you don't have a choice. So you have to go and do something, and you've selected the product that makes the most amount of sense for you. But
now one of the problems that we've had is that we're dependent on a board to choose something that works, which they don't have the best track record for that type of thing. So once they pick something, if you're required to use it, well, then yes, everyone will go rogue like Brian has had to do. So it's kind of a catch-22. You want them to select something market-wide, but as an industry, you just can't have that. I can't imagine every brokerage could have their own transaction management and it really work right.
Well, certainly from a training and usability perspective, I mean, to have it incumbent upon every realtor to be able to understand how to use transaction management across 5, 6, 7 platforms doesn't seem reasonable, especially when you look at some of these platforms. I mean, there are some really, really good systems out there that are highly complex that have been, undergoing development year after year after year after year, and they're really great in terms of the depth of functionality. They're gonna make that transaction coordinator really happy, but the agent who would have to learn 5 or 6 of these systems would spend an unearthly amount of time being fluent on them. It's just
everyone we invite jumps right in. It's great because we don't have anything else. We have lenders, we have title people. I think it's cool.
Yeah. So, Mark, can you just give us a quick run-through of the application so people can talk about the product that Kurt's using and be able to see it and see if they have any questions about it?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me just go into it. So let me actually open up a transaction I've actually got going on here. So just
can we go right back to the sign-in screen? Because I think that there's something really important there that I wanted to ask you a question about myself.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So is this the sign-in screen for everyone? Do the consumers go here as well? Do Kurt's customers sign in here?
So this is the homepage, and this is where everybody signs up to create a new brokerage. So if you are part of a brokerage that has already been created, we actually have a different process where someone within your brokerage can actually invite you. You get an email, you click on the link, you enter in name, email, and password, and you're in. However, if you're creating a new brokerage, you sign up from the homepage, but it's still very frictionless. It's just name, email, and password. So we do keep it really, really simple, and we do that on purpose, and that's to make it as easy as possible for people to join.
Okay, and just to be clear to everyone who's on the call, this product is free. So it's not what you're about to see is in a sales presentation. It's we're just going to understand the application. So go ahead.
Right. So I'll dive into the transaction dashboard here, which has kind of all of our features. Actually, let me go into this product over here, this transaction over here. So this product, again, without going into all the details, so you can see you can do workflow management, you can approve and not approve tasks from a compliance perspective. You can manage activity logs, so you can see exactly everything that's going on within a transaction. From a document standpoint, you can obviously upload and store, oh, here's a little welcome photo. You can upload and store and e-share documents with integrated DocuSign. We have this really cool splicing feature, so you can splice and split documents and merge documents. As I mentioned before, you can email documents directly into transactions. So we basically give you a unique email for each transaction to email documents to. So if you receive an email with a bunch of documents, you can just forward them into Reseo. And then messaging, notes, communication, all that kind of good stuff. And then on the marketing side, so again, we're trying to tie everything all into one place. So we allow you to upload and add property details, photos, and then what we do is we automatically create these public marketing pages with the public details of your transaction. And then from here, they show up on this properties page on our website. And while we haven't built out consumer search yet, that's one of the next things that we're going to be doing. Consumers and buyers can come here, find properties, and when they click on the property, this is what they see. They click contact agent. They can send you a message so they can ask a question, or you actually have the ability to make offers through our products. And that's actually a pretty cool feature. So we actually have a decent amount of people who are buyers agents who make offers through the product. And the way that works is the listing agent takes this link at the top, they insert into the MLS with instructions for their buyer's agents to make offers through Reseo, and then those offers actually will show up here on your offers tab directly within the transaction management. And
so
if you get any,
I just have a question about that.
Sure.
In MyBor, when you take that link to make offers, do you put that in the agent comments area, or do you put that? That's where you put it?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever thought about using this product as the branded or non-branded virtual tour?
In what way do you mean?
Well, I mean, you could put a link to this landing page in the MLS system, and it would go out through IDX if it was unbranded to the firm. So there's a branded version that's only displayed to, or the branded version is only displayed to agents. So there's, in most MLS systems, there's typically a link to the branded version of your tour, which is really for agents to see, but it's also available in the data feed, so you can use that to automate integration with other systems. Like if you wanted to display this as a virtual tour on your brokerage website, then you would display that link on your brokerage website, but on another broker's website, they would, display nothing, or they'd display an unbranded tour. I just wondered if anybody had been doing that.
Well, no one has been doing that, but that is definitely something that we want to do. I mean, we just haven't, taken the time to do that. That's again, another thing that's coming. So we definitely want to integrate that. We want to make it as seamless as possible for agents to be able to interact with these pages. It's not just for consumers because of the fact that they can make offers. We actually also have the ability, if you're a consumer and you try to make an offer here, we actually, I don't have it up right now, but we actually have the ability to invite your buyer's agent into it. And if you make an offer through this flow, you actually automatically get added to the transaction as a buyer group. So if I click here to see all the transaction members, it actually, you can see the listing group, the buying groups, and all these different buying groups are different buyers, agents, and buyers that have made offers. So the different buying groups can't see each other. Only the listing group can see all the different buyers and buyers agents.
So when I upload an offer, is the document attached as well?
Yep, exactly. So you basically fill out a few details. You attach the purchase agreement, and then if I come in here to the offers detail, if I click review, I can see all the details, and I could click here to open up the purchase agreement. What's nice about this view is that if an offer is way off base, like if it's nowhere even close to what you want, which happens a lot in a hot market, then basically you can, with one click of a button, decline an offer, and an email will go to the buyer's agent letting them know they've been declined. Or you can even decline multiple offers at once. So that's pretty cool. And then because it's integrated with their e-signatures, if you accept an offer, you then can get signatures with your seller sign the purchase agreement and be ratified and in contract. So it's a really nice, seamless, like back and forth, if you will, that's automated through the system.
Kurt, do you guys see this offers feature used a lot in your market, or do you think this is something that we have to grow to use as an industry?
I think we have to, could I do it, Mark, without the documents licensed? Does it still work?
Yeah, because you can attach your own agreements to it.
So if you just attach it, okay. I think it's great. I don't know how much it would be used. I think that if market-wide everyone was using Reseo, sure it would be used, but you would have a hard time getting the other brands to bite into it.
I agree that it's a little bit ahead of its time, but we actually have a brokerage here in San Francisco who's actually created a make offer button on their website, and it takes them to the public marketing page where they can make an offer on it. So they've actually taken the step further because they want buyers and buyers agents to be able to have a really seamless and easy offer-making process for them. So I agree it's a little bit ahead of its time, but we're starting to see more and more adoption of it.
Can you show us what that looks like? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
let me see if they have it here.
While you're pulling that up, I did just hear of an MLS who's developing something called a listed button, and that listed button will appear on a listing that's not for sale. So if it's a public record listing,
here it is.
Button.
So here it is. So they put this make offer button with the Reseo logo.
Oh, wow.
And if you click on it, it takes you to the public marketing page where you can make an offer.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So, and they did this on their own. we didn't even prompt them to do it. Or, huh? Yeah.
So, but they probably are, they're driven, they probably drive a lot of traffic to their site, buyers to their site. Would that be right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, if you're not really that active in SEO or in kind of website marketing, you're probably not going to care as much about that.
Well, this is a single listing website, too. If you look at the address, the property address at 1355 Portola.
Right.
A team or a brokerage?
They're brokerage.
Oh, okay.
It's a group.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really nice landing page for a property for sale, too.
Yeah.
So it kind of does make sense that you create this common ground for both people interested in the property, and that takes you from literally the inception date of the listing right on through to the closing date of the transaction. And
you just hit the nail right in the head with what the point is that we're trying to do. We are trying to be, from the very beginning that you search for properties, to the very end when you close escrow, it's all in one place, and it's all seamless. We're making the offer to joining the transaction and to everything else that happens.
So if you can go back to the back office, you mentioned you have integration with DocuSign, which I'm pretty sure is one of the more popular digital signature solutions in America today. We know that company really well. How do you configure your DocuSign account to work with Reseo?
Yeah, so the first time you click document and you click Get Signatures, the first time, I've already authenticated my account, so I can't show you. The first time you send up a document for e-signature, it's super, super easy. You just enter in your DocuSign email and password, click the Authenticate button, and we authenticate it right there on the spot. You don't have to wait for it or anything like that. And then once it's authenticated, you're good to go, and you can send off as many documents for e-signature as you want. And so if I do that, then what happens is I'll just choose who I want to sign it. I'll say Micah, I click Submit. And then DocuSign's interface is going to pop up here on my website. I don't need to log in separately to DocuSign. I don't need to go to DocuSign's website. It's just all right here. Drag and drop, click Send. And it takes me right back into Reseo. So again, I'm never having to go into separate systems. They all talk to each other, and it's all authenticated one time right there on the spot.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this is, I mean, how many, you have this thing called leads. Is that because you have this consumer-facing application?
Exactly. So over back here in the public marketing page, the send a message functionality, this is what the lead gen part is. So if anybody sends a message to you as an agent, it will show up here on your leads tab. Now, this is where ideally we would integrate CRM. So we would get rid of the leads tab and instead have a CRM tab where the leads would come in and then you manage them from there. And maybe even possibly integration with a tool like 5Street where there's direct response automation and so on and so forth. So, that's where the next steps need to come in from a product perspective to really automate and to really tie and integrate everything all into one place. Because we don't want to build our own CRM. That's a whole other product.
So have you created APIs for this lead section? I know that, if you're a member of a franchise organization, whether it be a Realogy franchise or Keller Williams or Weichert or Remax or any of these firms, they already have lead management taken care of. So can you put in like a lead management email address or reconfigure this or override it or use an API or export this data somehow so that it can be used in other applications?
Yeah, well, I mean, 5Street, that's exactly what they do, right? They take leads from all sorts of different places and then allow you to respond and everything like that. So we would potentially integrate with a product like that or Follow-Up Boss to allow the leads from Resio to go to that system so that, again, you can manage it all in one place. And then conversely, the flip side, we want to add CRM to our product so that leads come in and they show up here. It's possible we could also maybe integrate a 5Street type product into ours so that if you get leads from other places as well, they can be managed.
So we have about 9 minutes left. I wanted to begin to get some of the questions. Kelly, could you bring me the list of questions, please? So the first question that I see here is kind of a follow-on to the integration question we were just talking about at Leads. But one of the challenges that face many brokers today is how this product might integrate with their accounting program. Kirk, do you have any accounting integration with Resio now, or what accounting system do you use?
I have someone that does it for us. We use Wave Accounting partially, but we have someone that does it for us.
Oh, okay.
A private company.
So yeah, that's something that we want to do as well. Accounting integrations ask for a fair amount. We're launching a new broker dashboard and reporting features next month that's going to have some commission tracking as part of it. But yes, I mean, maybe integrating with like a Lone Wolf or something like that for more robust accounting directly within Resio would make a lot of sense.
Are there any, you mentioned 5Street, are there other technology companies that really make sense for integration with transaction management? I mean, you kind of have a landing page for the listing, so in some ways you're a little competitive with the virtual tour, but I guess people could take that make an offer button and put it on their virtual tours too, right?
Yeah. In terms of other technologies, so from a CRM perspective, we're looking very heavily at either Contactually or Top Producer. Just mentioned 5Street or Follow-Up Boss for lead response. I think that's kind of in the near term, the top 2 or 3 that we're looking at. There are a couple of consumer search products or search engines like Placer, for example. They do help power publishers' search engines, so we could actually look at integrating their search engine. So instead of just having all the thumbnails here, we definitely need to have consumer search at some point. We can maybe integrate Placer for that.
I see you have a rental on this page, so for people with property management, they can use Resio for managing their rentals as well.
Yep. So we definitely, I'd say about 5 to 10% of our transactions are rentals. But I mean, for the most part, it's buy and sell type transactions. But we definitely have some rentals as well that go through the system.
Well, it's got to be a great benefit. I know that, especially small property management companies, they really do wrangle quite a bit with being able to share information with the landowner or the property owner in terms of being able to, I mean, they collect all the applications, they do all the showings, but then, when they want to highlight a few of the applicants that they would want to have the owner agree to rent to and then manage all those documents and the agreements, this has got to be a real healthy application to be able to utilize for that purpose.
We've
Right,
started
exactly.
using the commercial side of it, and there's nothing that is to offer for that. So that's been nice with developers and property owners. So yeah, that's another nice feature on the commercial side.
There's another question from the audience. They were curious. So you do integration with DocuSign, but does your product integrate with digital ink or internet signatures?
We've had requests to integrate some other additional e-signature products, and we are closely looking at maybe possibly adding additional e-signature products to ours so that people do have choice, yes, because we realize not everyone is using DocuSign. So in addition to DocuSign, we're looking at adding, yes, digital ink, Instinet, EchoSign, eSign Online. There's a couple of other ones out there. So that's definitely something that we are potentially looking at, yes.
Cool. Has anyone ever used a product like Resio for listing syndication?
Well,
And
so
it seems like you'd have
eventually,
your photos, your property details, all that information, and you'd be able to syndicate that and drive buyers right back to this landing page where they can make an offer. I mean, it seems like a better way of trying to convert from portals.
yeah. So all our transaction management product is free. So over the summer, we are going to be starting to build paid features and more robust paid features, and listing syndication would definitely be one of them. So, obviously we know there's free products out there like Postlet, but again, if you incorporate the entire package and value add that Resio can bring, again, where it's all in one place, and then you just, have a default check button that you want to syndicate it to XYZ site, and then those leads and offers come back to you directly in Resio, that's a pretty nice value add. So we definitely, that would be a paid feature that we would offer.
So, Kurt, from the perspective of a broker, you use their product for free today, but are there certain features and functionality that would be important enough to you to want to pay for? And can you talk about what some of those might be?
Yeah, so I would pay for the marketing side of it. If a board were to adopt something to be able to use it as a marketing site, because it does look good. I like just the whole document exchange between brokers and buyers and sellers. I would pay for that. I mean, that's been fantastic because it's attached to the property. So, and yeah, I would use that. We spend a lot of time trying to build websites that work like this, that look like this. So to add on top of it that it has the real estate functionality in it, and yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know if I would pay on top of everything else. They'd have to get rid of some stuff, right? But I think it's got the capability of replacing a lot of parts of our local board's technology.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we hear is that people are willing to pay for the marketing part. So that's the reason why we're giving transaction management away for free, and then we upsell a certain percentage of brokers and agents on the marketing features that we're going to be adding.
There's another question here. We have a couple more minutes left, but let's go ahead. And I think we talked about this a little bit, but from the audience, they were wondering, the dilemma of a local marketplace having several different transaction management solutions. Would it cause confusion and hurt agents versus delivering the benefit of having a single solution? I think, Kurt, if you want to just redress, you answered this question already, but if you want to answer it again, that'd be great. The question is, if you have 10 different systems in a marketplace, all 10 of which an agent has to learn how to use, and a broker has to learn how to use, so you can go in and review the documents of the transaction and approve the documents of the transaction, is that going to crush the opportunity for our industry to adopt transaction management?
I think it'd be difficult for it to be done well if everybody gets to create their own transaction management. Honestly, they're going to look a lot alike, I bet. As people catch on and try to build the next one, they're not going to be that different from each other. I don't think the learning of someone else's transaction management is going to be the most difficult part. I think it's just getting people used to using one. In my market, since nobody uses one, it's kind of the why should I have to learn anything? But once they use something like this, I don't think there would be any question on the value. It's just we're using outdated technology at this point. But to have multiple, I mean, go ahead.
Kurt, I just want to follow up on that for 1 second. So clearly you have agents and brokers on the other side of the transaction who just say no.
Sure.
What's the business process that you follow when that happens?
I mean, I can't control another agent on the other side.
We ask them to send it to your regular way, and I'll upload them to the TM system?
That's how it works, yeah. So they attach it to emails, or they send you a Dropbox. I mean, we're an attached to email business here. So, but if we show them, for instance, I just had an agent that he's the buyer side, and they have the listing. He showed him how easy it was one time, how he can grab signatures from his clients on the addendums, and how much simpler it is just to have it in one place. I mean, he's in love with it. The lender, actually, we had to tell the lender he can't see all the documents, but the lender wanted to be in on it because it's so easy. So it's once they see it or realize what it is, it's an easy sell.
And that's why we make joining a transaction so easy. You just have to click on a link in an email and enter the password, and that keeps it frictionless so that people can join in 10 seconds and see how easy it is right away. If you make it that easy, people are usually pretty open to joining and trying it out.
Yeah, there's not a lot of steps to start using it.
Exactly.
Terrific. Mark, could you move back to your PowerPoint presentation and put the folks? Yeah, that page right there is perfect. So we're at the top of the hour, and I want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. And Brian, sorry that you had difficulty getting here, tickets and traffic alike. But at least you didn't get injured in a car accident or something. But Kurt, you did a great job. I really appreciate understanding from your perspective how these things play into the role of successful brokerage today. And Mark, you guys have, I mean, it's really cool that you're introducing a product that doesn't have a price barrier to adoption. It solves a lot of difficult problems for real estate agents, but I know that you guys put a lot of effort into forging the industry forward with transaction management, and I thank you for that. So with that, we're going to conclude our webinar. I do want to remind the panelists, please do not close your GoToWebinar control panel until we end the recording. And for all of you who attended today, we'll be sending you a link to today's recording. You can use it or share it in the future as you like. But thank you to everyone very much for attending. I thought it was a very productive webinar, and we'll certainly be having more of these. So I really appreciate your attendance and your support.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.